Hey everybody, welcome back to our news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me if you hear my voice, still is a little congested. I'm just right at the tail end of my sickness. I'm also a bit tired. I just had a busy day at work. And if you hear any noises in the background, just note that my brother is playing some games with his friends. He's also fairly loud. Um, so just wanted to lay all that out before we get into this news roundup. And yeah, so it's gonna be pretty short this week. So let's just let's just dive right on in. So the big story for this week that we got to cover is Transformers One. Transformers One came out a few weeks ago, and we did a review on it. Me and my brother actually did a review for it. We had fair responses to it. My brother enjoyed it more than I did. I had, mediocre responses towards it, but it had pretty strong critical reception overall from both audiences and from critics. And despite all that, this new film, which is an animated reboot of the franchise, unfortunately failed to reach number one on its opening weekend. It opened behind Beetlejuice at number two domestically, and collected nearly $40 million worldwide. And this carries a budget of $75 million. And as far as I can tell from China's numbers, because I was kind of waiting on China to see how they're faring, it's looking to do maybe 10 million on opening weekend in China. Maybe a little bit more than that. But as far as we can tell, it seems that the film's in trouble. Now, for it to be considered profitable, it would need to perform at least 200 million, according to my calculations. And there's no final numbers yet from China, so we'll have to wait and see. Because typically, Transformers films bear well in China, but as far as I can tell, the Chinese market is not as enthusiastic about this film as they've been with other films in the past. Now, the suggestion for why this film is underperforming, according to some analysts, is that the leap to different formats from straight animation or going from live action to straight animation may have turned off a large chunk of its audience, and perhaps is seeing this film as a more simplified version of itself, aka aimed just for kids. So, but yeah, it seems to be struggling at the current moment, especially domestically. But we'll see how internationally it unfolds in the next few weeks. But, um, it's when you consider how Transformers as a brand has been for the past 10 years, I mean, it's been on a decline for a long time. It's barely hanging on as it is. It's constantly looking for ways to keep itself sustainable and relevant. And as far as the audience is concerned, they found what really works. I mean, majority of the people who have seen Transformers 1 appear to have had a good time with it. I personally thought it was just fine, but a lot of people seem to have had a really good time with it. So in discussion of just quality, they've found their example of how to make a Transformers film that's universally accepted. In the discussion of quantity, though, in terms of financial benefits, mass audiences aren't looking for quality, it seems, as much as they're looking for schlock. Like, this is why Rise of the Beast did modestly better compared to this, or even Bumblebee for that matter, which isn't much considering Rise of the Beast was ultimately a failure. I mean, just didn't perform as well. Um, like, the analysts are right. I mean, you're just not appealing to the appetite that's with most of your audience, and you're alienating a big portion of your viewer interest because of that. So, and personally, I mean, comparatively speaking, by quality with the Michael Bay films and this, I would honestly say fuck that. Give me more of Transformers 1 than Michael Bay films. But at the same time, this is a business. And if Michael Bay's films have proved anything, it's that they do business, like good business. Like, I mean, the last night, even though ultimately it was a failure, it brought in like $700 million. So So I worry that these results are going to affect the mentality of handling Transformers in the future. I hope they look at this as this specific film. I hope they look at this as their main source of quality, like the example of how to make Transformers work for audiences, and to build upon that, not just disregard it because ultimately it financially was not strong enough. But I totally understand why they would if they choose to, because you got to make money somehow, especially for this franchise. It's been a dying saga now, almost 10 years, with no proven solid success. So yeah, so I mean, it is very disappointing seeing how it ultimately is shaping to potentially be a flop. We'll see ultimately what happens in China in the next few weeks if it's able to make up the loss domestically, but it's looking kind of grim with all things considered. So fingers crossed, because I would like to see more films like Transformers One in this franchise. Even though I found the film to be fine, I appreciate the quality of this more than a lot of the other Transformers films. So I would like to see more of these films, and like really well budgeted. So I just hope that it finds its audience. So, and hopefully China is the answer. But we'll see. We'll see in a few weeks how it all shapes out. So, all right. Our next story we're going to cover is revolving around Paddington. Paddington 3, aka Paddington in Peru, is set to be released this year on November 8th in the UK. And in the US, it'll be coming out next year, January 17th to be precise. Well, according to a couple of executives who work at Studio Canal, people who help produce the Paddington films, according to them, at a brand licensing convention held in London, there's apparently another Paddington film on the way. So Paddington 4 is on the way, and it will be also also will have a television series being worked on simultaneously, and the intent with Paddington, as it seems, is to expand the brand to basically just work what's the phrase I'm looking for, like just uh do it while it's hot, sort of thing, just make a bunch of things because everyone's loving Paddington, so just make a bunch of shit, and that's what they're doing. And Paddington 4 is one of those things. So within the language of how the company wishes to do more Paddington, I'm worried. I'm worried about their optics and frame of mind to their IP. And to my memory of this series of films, primarily with the second film, which is the only one I've seen fully, the first one I've piecemealed, this is a really delightful series. It's very charming, very just infectious, and I'm worried they're now just looking to milk it out for cash. Their concern now is expanding the brand. Like I said, they have announced a TV show now on the side. They have this new film now coming out, and perhaps that's their goal, and not focusing on quality and necessary stories rather than just doing something out of necessity to keep their brand alive. So I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the new one, Paddington 3. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm just worried by the comments made by those executives about the series' future and what that might mean moving forward. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, alrighty, we've got a couple of trailers to discuss for today, 3 specifically. So let's just get right into it. So the first trailer we're going to discuss, weirdly enough, since I've kind of written off Marvel, let's talk about Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts Asterix, which, by the way, is a joke. I don't understand why the online chatter is making it a big deal. It's like, oh, there's obviously more to that title because the director said so or whoever said it. It's like, you guys realize it's a form of self-deprecation. I mean, it's like saying this ain't the real Thunderbolts. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Especially when you understand the obvious comparison. But we'll get into that in a second. But this is the latest from Marvel Studios. This stars Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Sebastian Stan. This is being helmed by Jake Schreier, whose work includes Robert and Frank, Paper Towns, but more notably, he has worked on the TV show Beef, which more than likely got him the gig to direct this. This is being released on May 2nd, 2025, so they're putting this in the summer season. And gotta say, this appears to be more in the enthusiastic realm of the MCU, aka the modern superhero trend, if you ask me. It's obviously hard to not immediately think of DC's Suicide Squad and not think that Disney isn't just ripping off that concept. I'm not familiar with the comics, so I can't tell you who did it first. But in the film world, that's where your mind's going to go. And it just doesn't appear to be much of anything, which isn't new for me, as I've been feeling that way for years. But I must say this feels lesser than what I usually see as the formula, which is to say it looks more disposable and less interesting to me. I think putting it in the summer is a bold step, especially with Marvel's current track record. So we'll see. I mean, you'll see. I won't. I'm not curious about these movies at all, but yeah, it doesn't really look like much of anything to me. It just looks like Suicide Squad, except lesser and with characters that I don't really care about at all. So yeah. So I mean, the title also is like kind of like jiving with that mentality. You know, it's like, you know, this group of like misfits, and oh, they're not so just, you know, like they're not like, they don't act as like a real team. You know, like the expectancy of a team would. Like this ain't like a legit squad, you know, or legit type of thing, whatever. And if you ask me, just personally, with the entire thing, for a teaser trailer, by the way, Jesus Christ, 3-minute long trailer. Just from what I've seen, it don't look legit at all, really. So yeah, I don't care. I really don't care. So, all right. Next trailer we're gonna get into is for a film called Sinners. This is actually Ryan Coogler's next film. He is writing and directing it. Guy, of course, behind Creed, as well as Black Panther and Black Panther 2. This stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and Delroy Lindo, as well as a couple of other people. And this has a release date for March 7th, 2025. And, well, I'll say this. The apparent technicalities being utilized, the like ultra wide aspect ratio 21:9 and the wide angle lenses combo, that effect, I'll say that's pretty rare to see nowadays. And you know, I mean, it's apparent when you jump to that first frame. It's like, oh, okay, they're definitely going for a specific look for this, you know. I can't say that those technicalities make the visual presentation more grounded, nor do I find much intrigue in its narrative. It's kind of similar to my thoughts in Salem's Lot, which apparently this is also a vampire story from what I was told. It's extremely vague as to what the threat is until you do your research. And it's, I don't know, it's likely to hit on like some blatant commentary as a means of presenting depth, which honestly is just getting exhausting to explore at this point. Like, I think we've hit the same point so many times. It's like there's no other angle you can really choose. So it's like kind of getting over that. Not saying they're not important stories. It's just to say like you're hitting the same point over and over and over again, you know. But I acknowledge the attempt at trying something different visually, but I feel like it kind of cheapens the frame itself. Like the actual grading and tinting, it looks good. Like the literal of what I'm seeing looks nice. I just don't think that the technical features surrounding the actual visuals actually complement it well. You could have just gone for like a regular 16 by 9 or even a 4 by 3. I think would have worked a lot better. Um, and like I said, the narrative itself doesn't really appear to be as involving. Um, you know, I don't know why it kind of gives me off like Mother vibes. Remember Mother by like Darren Aronofsky? I don't know why that kind of gives off vibes like that. At least visually, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'm not really interested. Maybe word of mouth may persuade me. Perhaps it's also the trailer because I don't think the trailer itself was cut well. Um, but I don't know. I'm not gonna immediately just shut it down. But I'm just currently at the moment not really caring too much. So those are my feelings on that. And finally, let's talk about the Ballerina trailer. This is the next John Wick film. This is a spin off in the John Wick universe. This stars Ana de Armas, Ian McShane, Norman Reedus, as well as Keanu Reeves himself, reprising his role as John Wick. This is being directed by Lynn Wiseman, who has their hand on the Underworld series, and as well as a film called Total Recall with Colin Farrell, I believe. This has a release date of June 6, 2025, and gotta say, this is a fairly deceptive trailer. It's fairly deceptive in that if you know the history with the film, the kind of the rough production that it's had, with the poor test screenings, being delayed up to a year now, additional action sequences being ordered, not reshoots by the way, because those are different. Reshoots are planned out in advance. When you have to order new scenes, that's a whole different story, and that's what this was. As a result of those test screenings, when you have that in mind, it's a bit more eye-opening as to the manner of the marketing of this film, which is basically this. Let's distract the main story and pad it out with surrounding elements that people like about the John Wick series. You like Keanu Reeves? There's Keanu Reeves. You like Ian McShane? There's Ian McShane. From the world of John Wick. That's the first thing you're going to see from the title. From the world of John Wick. Then Ballerina. Let's just try to do all those things that people know about the John Wick universe. Let's just try to do it with choreography that honestly looks really fucking stiff compared to what we know from John Wick. An extremely tiresome plot line. Someone killed someone. I'm going on revenge. It's like we've done that so many times. The real lack of understanding of the absurdity within integrated into the series, like this series has always had the manner of like a B movie. Therefore, when the ridiculous stuff is happening, there's that room tonally for it to exist. And this kind of appears to lack that understanding and just lack, generally speaking. It just is really lacking. Like when she fights a flamethrower with a hose, right? It just doesn't land at all. It just looks ridiculous. But in other fashions and other executions, that probably would be kind of a thrilling scene. I mean, we've seen ridiculous stuff in the John Wick universe. We've seen John Wick murder a guy with a book, But in the way that they present it to you, it's a cool scene. It actually turns something that is quite ridiculous into something kind of badass, Because it understands the manner of the series. It understands the overall, like the walking of the line, tonally speaking, within this series. This doesn't get that. And I think the studio isn't confident in the product, and they're kind of hoping that the surrounding elements will be more compelling than what's out in the front, with the main story, with Ana de Armas and her story. They're not relying upon that. They're hoping that the other things will suffice. I mean, it's even worse that Ian McShane publicly has stated that the movie is in trouble. So, they're hoping that they're the muscle. Ian McShane, Keanu Reeves, they're hoping that they're the strengths, not necessarily her story. So, and I think putting this in the summer season is not a good move. If you were to ask me, I just don't think that's a good move. I think that that's putting it in a bad position. You've basically gone from a unique spin of a vengeful figure to that very typical telling of that story. You've gone from John Wick to Taken. If Taken were a little bit more absurd to some extent. So I just don't see us having strong legs in the summer season, and just generally by what I'm seeing, I am just not interested. I really don't see a reason to go out and watch it. So, yeah. It doesn't look awful. Like, that's kind of the tone that I'm bringing to it. Like, it's not awful. I just don't see anything really noteworthy. Kind of the same thing I feel about Thunderbolts. It's like, I don't see anything that should get me to go pay $20-something to go watch that. Like, yeah. But yeah. Yeah, I think it looks pretty dull. Very, very dull, very lacking. And probably it's being set up for failure when you're putting it in the summer season. I just don't see a big audience for this. I just don't. But we'll see. But yeah, those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know all your thoughts on all these trailers: Thunderbolts, Sinners, Ballerina. Let me know all your thoughts. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Let me know all your thoughts on all these trailers in the comment section below. Your thoughts on Paddington 4 being a thing and Transformers 1. Do you think that film can redeem itself? Do you think it has chances to make its money back or to pull in stronger profits? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.